Hi, Kim Hester here from Life Strength and Health Holistic Center, and in this video we are going to discuss colon hydrotherapy systems. Now there's two systems that are on the market. You have the open system and you have the closed system. On your left I have some pictures of some popular open systems that are on the market, and on the right I have some pictures of some popular closed systems that are currently being used. Now there's two major differences between the open and closed systems. One is how the water is entered into your colon, and two, how waste is expelled from the colon. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say that both systems are both FDA approved and they are both safe and effective at cleansing the colon. Now, open systems are gravity fed, which means that gravity is what causes and allows the water to enter into your colon. But closed systems, they use pressure to fill the colon with water. And open systems, you expel any waste and wastewater onto the unit that you're lying on, where closed systems, you expel your waste via a waste tube. Now on the bottom I have a couple pictures. The two to the far left, these are of course open systems, and as you can see, this woman is lying on her back on the unit directly over this opening, and the water is fed from gravity with gravity continuously into her colon, and then when she's ready to expel, she expels. Everything is done on the unit, goes into this opening, down into a catch basin, and down into the sewer line. But as you see on this picture on the far right, this is the picture of a closed system. And this white piece right here is called the speculum. And off of the speculum, there's two lines, a water line and the waste line, which is this big tube right here. The water line is where the water comes in, enters into the client, and then when the client's ready to expel, they release, and then the waste goes into the waste tube and back into the unit and down into the sewer line. Okay, now because of the way that the water is entered into the colon and the way the waste is expelled, I just want to go into the tip and the speculum. The tip is used on an open system, and that's a picture. I have a picture of the tips right here. As you can see, it's very thin. It's compared to this pencil, because that's how thin it is, and the tip generally goes into your rectum at the most 3 inches. On this far right, this is called the speculum, and as you can see, it's much wider because it serves as a way to get the water, feed the water into the colon, and then the waste is expelled back through this tube, back into the waistline, and then through the machine and down into the sewer line. So that's why the speculum must be wider. And then as you can see in this picture, this tip is so much thinner than the speculum, and this whole thing isn't entered into your rectum. At the most, as I said, is 3 inches, and everything is done on a unit. And that's why in closed systems, they're generally done on a massage table, because you just need something for the client to lie on, whereas open systems tend to be much larger because the client has to lay on it and everything is done on the unit. Okay, now at our facility at Life Strength and Health Holistic Center, we use the open systems. I have actually 2 units at my center. I used to use the closed, but I prefer the open because, one, they're non-invasive. Because the client expels on the unit, the only purpose the tip is serving is to enter the clean filtered water into your colon. So that's why it's so much thinner. That's why we call our units male friendly, because most men have issues with the insertion of the tip. But as you can see, it's much thinner, as you see in the second picture, than the speculum. And like I said, everything is done on the unit. The second reason I prefer the open system is it's gravity fed. So it's a gentler cleanse. Gravity is what allows the water to continuously flow into the colon. So it's a very, very gentle cleanse. And lastly, the client is in full control of the session. When anyone comes into my facility, once everything's explained, we start the session and you're comfortable, I generally leave the room and I can be reached at any time. But I feel that the more that you relax, and I find that when you're left alone and no one else is in the room, you can completely let go. But the more that you relax, the more that you release, and you generally have a more effective cleanse, in my opinion. Okay? But as I mentioned, it's really preference. Both units are both safe and effective, and they're both FDA approved, so it's preference, and it's really up to you. Now, before we wrap this video up, I just want to set the record straight because I'm hearing a lot of things out there, unfortunately, from some other therapists that are out there that may be biased towards the type of systems that they use. But I just want to set the record straight because I hear so many people come in and say, oh, I was told that open systems are dangerous and you're just left alone and you could die and all these things. And, nothing can be further from the truth. So I just want to kind of just discuss that false claim, if you will, just to set the record straight. Now, closed systems require a therapist in the room at all times, and the main reason is because the water is fed into your colon by gravity. I mean, not by gravity, sorry, by pressure, and the therapist is the one that controls that pressure and has to monitor it. And the therapist has to turn the water on and turn the water off. So in closed systems, you generally refill, and then when you can't take in any more water, you release. Okay, but the therapist has to control all that. Okay, so that's why it's so imperative, it's a must for the therapist to stay in the room. On open systems, the therapist is not required to stay in the room. Out of the almost 8 years that I have been at my facility, I had, I stayed in the room with one person because they were severely nervous, but most people are kicking me out of the room because they just prefer to be alone, and they know that if they need me for anything, I'm right there. They just have to ring the doorbell, and I'm right there, okay? But because the water is fed into the colon by gravity, and the water continuously flows into the colon by gravity, and most importantly, the client can stop the water at any time, it's not a requirement. I don't have to be in the room if the client doesn't want me, okay? So that's the big thing. So just know that on open systems, a therapist will stay in the room with you if you want them to, but you are not going to die on the table. You're not left alone to your own devices and to figure everything out. Just know that on open systems, you're in full control. It's a gentler cleanse and it's less invasive, okay? But I just wanted to set the record straight. But just to recap, both systems are both FDA approved and they're both safe and effective at cleansing your colon, okay? So in the next video, we're going to dive a little deeper into the powerful and beneficial effects of colon hydrotherapy. We're going to discuss why colon hydrotherapy is so beneficial to optimum health and how does colon hydrotherapy really help you to improve your overall health, because there's a lot of false claims, a lot of misinformation or education going on out there that questions that we're asked from our first time clients that we want to kind of clear up and just kind of dig deeper and just really educate and inform everyone about colon hydrotherapy and why it's so beneficial and so important to overall optimum health. Okay, so stay tuned for the next video.